What up, though? Welcome to Jimmy and Jack. I don't know. We haven't figured out a new name yet, Jimmy, since our transition to a new format. But we welcome you in, Jimmy and Jack, talking Detroit sports here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. You can find us on the Sports Rap Network app, available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. You can find us on sportsrapnetwork.com, and you can usually find us on YouTube, Sports Rap Network. We will not be there for this edition of the Jimmy and Jack show, but we hope to join you again live in the future. I am Jack Barthwell, joined by my illustrious co-host, James Wardell. Jimmy, how are you this evening?
I'm doing fine, but we can say Jimmy and Jack are finally back for today. After about a week and a half hiatus, we're finally back.
Yes, it is good to be back. Good to see you. Glad you are doing well. Hope everybody out there listening to us is doing as well as they can. If you are a Detroit sports fan, obviously the news of the day and of the weekend, the Detroit Pistons fell in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pistons were blown out of Little Caesars Arena. They did not lead at any point in the game. I don't recall.
They had a 3-2 lead off of Jenkins triple, and that was it.
There you go. So essentially a wire-to-wire win for the Cavs. Cavaliers end up winning by 31 points, 125-94. Pistons really didn't seem to come out with any energy, any sense of urgency. They did not seem to come out with any hustle. The Cavs were taking charges. They were hitting open shots. They did get some help from the referees. I will, definitely admit that. But it was not, it wasn't a game that was decided by the refs. It was a game decided by the Pistons not showing up at the arena on Sunday. I could, get into the box score where, Dennis Jenkins was the leading scorer with 17 points on 4 for 12 shooting. 7 of those points came from the free throw line. But, I don't even really think the stats are going to show what happened in this game. Pistons just got punked. Jimmy, what are your thoughts? I think I could go on and on, but what did you see? I was there.
You were at the game, right?
Yeah, I was there.
So you can keep on some of your observations. Were the Cavs fans really that much of a deterrent?
Yes. I will say, without a doubt, the fact that there were so many Cavaliers fans in the building played, if not any part, a small part. They were loud. They had a lot of energy. They had more energy than Pistons fans, to be honest. It wasn't like there were empty seats, but there weren't empty seats because they had all been bought up by Dan Gilbert and other, Cavaliers fans. There was a report that came out that Dan had paid for 25 buses of people to come up from Cleveland, as well as, any number of tickets on top of that. So it definitely made, it had to make some measure of a difference. Obviously I'm not a professional athlete, so I don't know how much, but yeah, it was loud for the Cavaliers. And it sounded about 50-50. But the Pistons, at no point gave anything to cheer for.
Yeah, any reason to cheer.
There was just not a lot of fight. I admittedly didn't get there to see warm-ups or anything, but there was just no life on the sidelines. There was no fight for loose balls. There was nothing, man. It was crazy to watch, to be honest. And even then, at no point did I think they were going to get back in the game. Right? I think that was really the worst feeling, because, like you said, Pistons led 3-2 at the beginning of the game, and then never got the lead back. I mean, I don't even know if it was tied again. No, I mean, there was Duncan Robinson was playing, kind of inspired defense for him. But, they neutralized Asar by just kind of throwing the ball away whenever he got close to whoever had the ball.
And he still got steals and blocks.
Exactly. I mean, he's just a freak on the defensive end. But yeah, I mean, the refs did not help by any stretch of the imagination, but they also called some pretty crappy fouls on the other end. So it's not like they were totally in the bag for Cleveland. Now, Cleveland did shoot 15 more free throws, so that definitely played a part, but that's only half of the margin of victory. So I don't know, man, Jimmy. It just looked bad from where I was, and I wasn't on the floor, but I had a nice seat, but it was not. It was not what you wanted to see in Game 7.
Pretty. I'm gonna say this: Cade is arguably gonna be the first to. When is he gonna get some calls? Because I mean, that was a problem, and I've been listening to listening to podcasts, and people call the season a failure. I think it was a success ultimately because you won a playoff series, you played well in the second. But here's what people don't see and don't understand: the Magic, when healthy, were a top 4 seed.
Right.
And in most projections, were projected over the Pistons. Cavaliers have the highest payroll in basketball. Mm-hmm. I just looked some of these up. Mobley, $46 million. Mitchell, $46 million. Harden, $39 million. Allen, $20 million. Strus, almost $16 million. And Schroeder, $14.
Yeah, they got 3 max
They're
guys.
at the second apron.
Crazy.
They're at the second apron. So I think win or lose, they're going to have to make some moves to get under.
Yeah.
Because the first apron isn't that much punitive.
Right.
The second apron.
Yes.
Where you can lose draft picks and ability to sign players.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I will not sit here and call the season a failure by any stretch of the imagination. I think that this series specifically, but the playoffs in general, exposed a flaw in the Pistons, which is they don't have a secondary scorer and they don't have enough shooting. They obviously are dogs on defense and they get after on that end, but somebody has to score buckets that isn't Cade, right? And I think Dennis Jenkins is a fine, piece. I mean, he's not your secondary scorer, right? But we've seen Duran not be able to live up to that in the playoffs. Now, is he hurt? Maybe. It looks like he's hurt. I wish he would come out and say, hey, I've hurt such and such on X and Y date, and this is why, I've been playing through it, blah, blah, blah. This is why I haven't looked so good. Because otherwise, this is just a really bad generational loss of money for, no reason.
Well, I think the Piston team believes in no excuses.
Right.
So I'm sure that's what's playing into his factor. Now, again, listening to all these shows, should J.B. Bickerstaff be fired? I'm like, again, are you crazy? We came off when we hired J.B. a 14-win season. We had Monty Williams, who, all over him, but this is a man who lost his first wife to a car crash, and his second wife had cancer. So he wasn't all in. Gore's offering the most money ever. So he took it.
Right.
But they corrected that wrong.
Right.
And JB has won 46 more games over 2 years.
Yes.
Than that 14 and whatever.
Yes.
Now, if you want to go the blame game, Trajan Langdon. He did not get that second score. And something crazy? Kevin Herter is the third highest paid pitcher.
Wow.
At $17 million.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, obviously the Ivy.
The Pistons dealt.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I was going to say the same thing. The Ivy thing dealt him a bad hand because I believe he would have been that second scorer.
Yes, definitely. And the injury, the initial injury, was really unfortunate and probably sapped a lot of the speed and athleticism that made Ivy who he was. And so that's, incredibly unfortunate. I don't want JB fired. I think that's a bridge too far, but I do think we're seeing some of the things that the folks in Cleveland saw, which is he's really good with young teams and teaching the game of professionalism and defense and how to play the game the right way. But some of his X's and O's stuff, like rotations and dealing with game flow, are continuing to show up. Now, that's something I think.
Well, I think you got to Game 7 out the window.
Oh, sure.
That was just a total.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Not even thinking about Game 7 at all, to be honest. But just some of the conversations that I've had or seen people having about, why are these people in the game? Why aren't these people in the game? It's not like we run the most beautiful X's and O's offense in the world either. Obviously incredibly effective and, not hating on the results, but I do think some of the process issues are coming up again. But I also think those are things that can be, grown from and learned from. I don't think they're existential things like Tibbs' inability to play young players or manage minutes, which I think are just baked into what you have with Tibbs. I think JB is still young and comes from a coaching background, so that he's going to make adjustments.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. But when we return from What Up, Doe? Welcome to Jimmy and Jack. I don't know. We haven't figured out a new name yet, Jimmy, since our transition to a new format. But we welcome you in, Jimmy and Jack, talking Detroit sports here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. You can find us on the Sports Rap Network app.
Gladys Knight, 7-time Grammy winner. The enchanting voice of Gladys Knight.
Someone to watch over.
One impressive hit after another. Gladys Knight. August 18th, the Fisher Theater. On sale now at us.atgtickets.com/Detroit.
What up, Doe? Welcome back. Jimmy and Jack here to talk about Detroit sports and sports at large here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. You can catch us on the Sports Rap app, available in the Google Play and Apple App Store, our online home, sportsrapnetwork.com, and on YouTube, the Sports Rap Network. Jimmy and Jack back to talk about the Pistons. As we were discussing before we went to break, Pistons were eliminated in Game 7 by the Cavs, lost by 30 points, didn't show up. We were discussing who's needs to get a little bit of the blame? What changes do we expect to be made? And Jimmy was teasing a delectable trade opportunity that he wanted to discuss. So, Jimmy, take it away.
All right, again, I was listening to the other YouTubers and stuff like that. And, everybody has a pie-in-the-sky trade. One was for Kawhi. Heck no, he's always hurt. Luke Kennard. How does he fit the Pistons' defense? Not really. Devin Booker. He's intriguing, but I don't know. Giannis. Stop it. Lauri Markkanen, another guy that doesn't really play defense. And they were the King's ransom out there. Mm-hmm. Tyler Heat, the one I hear the most about. Are you serious? And Kevin, now the players I think they should be targeting are Michael Porter, Trey Murphy, and here's the tease, the shot, Ja Morant.
Oh, wow.
Now, before you say, wait a minute, if you remember when the Pistons got Mark Aguirre, he was a problem child.
Okay.
Rasheed Wallace was a problem child.
That one I do.
What do they both have in common? Shit. Now, the Piston community is strong in Detroit. I mean, you got Ben Wallace. Isaiah's always in town. Mahorn. Hamilton. And there's some others. I'm sure they would impress upon him what it's like to be a Piston.
I mean, it's certainly intriguing. I mean, he's obviously an incredibly talented player. If the injuries haven't sapped all of the athleticism, the rim running and the high flying would be attractive. I don't know if I love the fit next to Cade. One of them would have to be comfortable being off the ball. It would almost certainly be Ja. I think that's a role he could thrive in. Whether he's willing to be the Robin to someone else's Batman remains to be seen. But to your point, if I remember my Bad Boys documentaries correctly, Adrian Dantley was a problem child that didn't work out, and Mark Aguirre was a problem child that did work out, or other way around. But yeah, I mean, you have the opportunity to bring someone that talented in, and it would probably be relatively cheap, asset wise. He does have a previous max deal that he's on, but I would love to see it. I think we talked about it before, that John needs to go somewhere like Utah or Detroit, or places perceived as boring, so that he can focus on his craft. However, my caveat to that would be he is in Memphis currently and cannot stop cosplaying as a gangbanger. That is not going to improve when he gets out here in Detroit and we're all the main character and he doesn't like somebody that says something sideways to him. That probably wasn't happening a whole lot in Memphis. It's going to happen every night in Detroit, especially if he's not playing well. So, but I mean, I love the basketball idea of it.
Well, you've got a team here that's very cohesive. Mm-hmm. They love to be around each other at home, on the road, and he would get some of that, and hopefully they would keep him out of the mean streets of Detroit. Just like I told you before, for Williams on the Lions, we just need to build him a George's Coney Island in his house. Mm-hmm. Maybe we just need to get some poles in John Morant's house so he can have in-home entertainment.
That's like how we needed a roulette wheel in Allen Iverson's house. Although I don't know if anything was going to keep AI in the crib. Like our current wave of AI that the previous one could not be stopped, only by Father Time. I mean, I like the idea of a
But
Michael Porter.
just a quick point on that. Just a quick point on that. I've heard some people in the analytics world say that AI couldn't play in this game of 2026.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
That's crazy.
I mean, I think AI, just like they said Michael Jordan might average 50 in today's NBA, I think AI is also probably almost averaging 50 in today's NBA. I mean, you're not allowed to touch him. I mean, his entire, if he gets a superstar whistle, which we can circle back to our discussion about Cade with this, but if he got a superstar whistle, like, he doesn't, I'm not even talking about the Shea whistle because that's, just wild. But if he got that type of, just remotely, that type of call, he's going to the line 15, 16 times a game. I mean, I don't understand how you're supposed to stop Allen Iverson in today's NBA. I mean, they could knock him down in the early 2000s, and he was still getting 30. So what are you supposed to do with him right now? It's like people talk about, what was T-Mac? T-Mac was getting 35 when teams were scoring 90. Like, what do you think T-Mac is getting right now? Like, we can, I especially talk about 80s, 90s, early 2000s basketball like a dog, and I will stand by 98% of that. But the elite of the elite are always going to be elite, and if you're playing in the wide open game that they're playing in today, brother, we would see some disgusting lines. But yeah, to go back to your list of players, I like the Michael Porter Jr. Addition. Again, also a crazy person, so would need some structure around him. But Detroit, the Pistons organization.
I'm just worried about the structure in his knees.
Well, there's no structure in his knees. But that
would be the only thing that scared me about him. That
unfortunately seems to be genetic, along with the craziness, believe it or not. So, incredibly intriguing basketball fit, and I think would be cheap again from an asset standpoint. And again, I think would benefit from the structure that the Piston organization seems to be providing lately. I think that the coaching staff has a lot of veteran players and veteran coaches on it, which would be a boon to his continued development. I don't think he's finished as a player by any stretch, but he does need to fill a role. But that role can be 3-and-D wing on a championship type team. He's probably, I think he's a little bit overpaid, but I think if you dropped him on the Pistons right now, he'd be third or fourth, or he'd be the second or third highest player.
Probably second.
But yeah, I mean, you need something. Like, they need more shooting around Cade. You're gonna save money from Duren now, because even if he does still make All NBA, which he may, and All NBA is voted on before the playoffs, but he may be eligible for the Supermax, but he's in no position to ask for one now. I think that I figure he gets a smaller contract over maybe 1 or 2 years for him to prove himself. Yeah, I mean, he could certainly take a prove it type deal. I mean, if I were him, 180 is not wildly different from 280 to me. But most cats
aren't wired like that. Come in.
Yeah, exactly. Most cats ain't wired like that.
That's where agents come in. But let's go over the Pistons roster right quick, and who stays, who goes, at what price. Cade is automatic. Tobias is at 26.6. I'd like to bring him back at about $18 million. Yeah. But you've heard the way Tobias talks about himself. Bench. You've heard the way Tobias talks about himself lately. He's not no
bench player or, pay cut type of player. It doesn't seem like. So we'll have to see.
Well, he loves playing with his team. We'll see how much he loves playing with it. And then I've heard they might sign him for 25 for 2 years for 50 overall, which isn't really a pay cut. Kevin Herter at 18, he can go. In 16.8. I'd like to bring him back, but I'd also like to have him as a bench player.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Isaiah Stewart in those last couple games did not play a lot.
True. Yeah.
I'm not willing to give up on him, but I'll talk about another situation later. Karis LeVert, $14 million. He can stay and go.
I love Karis.
Yeah, and most trade offers I've seen have Duncan and Karis involved.
Sure.
Asir Thompson,
No.
keep.
Untouchable.
But he will not get the max extension he was looking for either.
Right.
Ron Holland, the jury's still out on him for me. It's still out.
I agree.
I'd like to keep him. Duran is only making $6.4 million, so like you said, 180 might look like $1 million. It's Jenkins.
Yeah.
Sasser is another intriguing player.
Forget all about Sasser. He played pretty well last
He
couple
played
games.
in games 6 and 7. And, yeah, I like the way he plays. He always comes in and can shoot. Green, $2.3 million. Yeah, sign him at the veterans minimum. Chaz Lanier.
I forgot all about him.
And, you've got Paul Reed at 5.3. Well, one guy that's not talked about, but I think they developed also is Tulu Smith.
Oh, yeah.
So if somebody goes south on one of these three centers, they've got a third center on the roster.
True. And they still got Klinsmann, the
really?
Swedish kid.
Yeah.
Nobody else can see your face, but when we return from break, we'll talk about the greater NBA here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. Jimmy and Jack, we will be right back.
Young Jock on the beat, VSN with the lines, that's the whole team. We the #1 network chasing the dream. No static on the signal, hear us loud and clear. Listen anywhere. We are.
What up, though? Welcome back. Jimmy and Jack here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, Sports Rap Network. You can catch us on the Sports Rap app, available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. You can find us on sportsrapnetwork.com, and you can find us on YouTube. Search for Sports Rap Network. Jack Barthel, Jimmy Wardell, back with you again. We love our Pistons. We had an amazing season by my estimation. The team should, in general, hold their heads high, although that last effort should leave a sour taste in everyone's mouth. But the sky is the limit. Team, it's won 46 more games than it did 2 years ago. They're ahead of schedule. I don't think anybody expected them to be the 1 seed this year. So, great season by the Pistons. But we will look forward to the NBA playoffs as they continue to play out. The conference finals are set. We have the Spurs and Thunder, two juggernauts out west. The first meeting between 62-plus win teams since the 97-98 finals. And in the East, we have, as apparently preordained and foretold by ESPN, Cavs Knicks. That series will kick off on Tuesday, while the Spurs and Thunder get set to tip off this evening. Jimmy, what are your thoughts on the conference finals? I guess we'll go west first and then the east.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to throw an add in on there. We talk about the NBA, a lack of American stars. You have an American star in Cade Cunningham. You would think they were something, it would be slanted toward him. But I digress on that one.
Well, Donovan Mitchell's from New York City. So they could play, him returning to the Garden for at least 2 out of the 7 games.
I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
But Thunder Spurs. Spurs beat the Thunder 4 out of 5 games this year. They matched up one time in the midseason tournament and 4 times during the season. Mm-hmm. I think, and you've seen it somewhat, they're allowing more, and I think Wemby will be somewhat neutralized. I mean, he still is probably going to be 20, 10, and 4.
Okay.
But he won't get off those gaudy games. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I was surprised Wemby was 3rd in the MVP voting. Jokic snuck in there at 2nd. But I think that's going to be a good series, but I'm going to go Thunder in 7.
Ooh. So I agree with your... the words of your analysis. I just feel like the teams should be flipped, right? I feel like they do allow more in the playoffs in general, and I think that hurts the Thunder more. I think that I know Shea is going to continue to get a great whistle, but I don't know if he is going to get his regular season whistle in this specific series, because, and I don't say that with any inside information or any knowledge or any theory other than I don't know if Adam Silver fully is willing to give the game over to foul baiting, because we have officially 3 teams now whose superstars make their living by selling out for calls. And we then have the San Antonio Spurs as the last bastion of ethical basketball.
Wemby gets hit, and he's like a scarecrow.
Well, he is a scarecrow.
So, but and that, if you look at it that way, you've got Harden. You've got who, to me, he throws his legs out and then he falls. You're not supposed to throw your legs out.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know we're getting ahead of a segment. But
he does it with both
down.
feet. That's why it make it seem like it's different. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
You've got my man in New York, Brunson. And you've got SGA. One game against the Pistons had 25 free throws. And the Pistons only has a team, I believe. So he's going to do something about that. But back to I think the Spurs are going to have to experience some heartache.
True. On
their road to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is probably the only chance they have to, because I don't know if anybody in the East can hang with them.
Mm-hmm. I got Spurs in 7.
But they're both 2 evenly matched teams.
Yeah.
Jalen Williams is playing again.
Yes.
Which hopefully make the good... Well, the forward Jalen Williams. I'm not going to call the other one the bad Jalen.
The starter Jalen Williams.
But the forward Jalen Williams is playing again.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, I do. I am going to.
They've got the 12th and the 17th pick in the draft.
That's disgusting. I think if Sam Presti
gonna get richer.
If Sam Presti calls you and you're an NBA GM, don't answer the phone, because he knows something about your team or your assets that you don't. He's the new Danny Ainge. Don't answer the phone, because he's gonna rob you. But yeah, so if going over to the East, I think a lot of this, and this will filter into our next discussion, but I think this just turns into who's going to flop more effectively. Is it going to be James Harden breakdancing out there, leaving his literal flop sweat on the court for his teammates to slip on? Or is it going to be Jalen Brunson breakdancing in the home the birthplace of breakdancing. Donovan Mitchell, who is not going to be left out of any sort of flopping fiesta. Karl Anthony Towns loves to throw his neck back and embellish contact. I don't know. This what we actually might see is the longest conference finals games of all time because of all the fouls and the free throws and the flopping. I'm just glad this is not Summer League and we don't have unlimited fouls because this is going to be disgusting. And you know what's going to make it worse? They're never going to call any of those guys for flopping because they don't want to give them extra unnecessary fouls. So they're closer to being ejected. But I also think what we're going to see is near the end of games, when guys do have a bunch of fouls called on them, we're going to see some of the worst flops and throwing hands up into the air saying, "Oh my God, how is that not a foul?" Because now they're not going to foul out half the teams while y'all are falling all over the place, so we can still play a basketball game, right? I'm obviously, you can tell I'm disgusted by the state of the game. So, all that being said, I have the Knicks in 6.
But back to that series, is it going to be better to be playing your second game in 3 days, or the Knicks, which have had a week and a half to rest, which are going to be rusty, admittedly, in the first little bit?
Well, I think we've seen throughout.
I don't know.
I think we've seen throughout this athletic past year and a half, really, that the team that sits is too rusty to come back out. Usually, I mean, there have been a couple exceptions, but the team that's had the rest has seemed to perform worse. So yeah, I think it's going to be rough going for the Knicks initially. I do still think they got it out in the end. The Spurs and Thunder. I mean, the Thunder have had a ton more rest, but the Spurs are going to be pretty well rested too. So I don't know if it'll factor in as much, but I do think in the East it is going to work out in Cleveland's favor initially.
Knick fans with the passion, because they're on top of the world. They were all in all the discussion boxes talking about, I don't think either the Cavs or the Pistons have it. Knicks in 4. I'm like, do you know basketball? I don't know how the Knicks are going, especially if James Harden has the ball in his hands.
Right.
Now, they say Cleveland might have to go to a small lineup because, if they go out there with Bridges, Hart, Towns, Anunoby, and Brunson, you might have a smaller lineup.
Right.
But I think it's going to be a chess game. And I'm going to favor Kenny Atkinson. I know it sounds crazy, but Mike Brown is like, And, the Knicks are being strong, but they've beaten the 6th place team and the 7th place team.
Right.
You can say the Cavaliers have had a much harder road.
Oh, for sure.
And the Pistons had a
harder road than the Knicks, for sure.
Right quick. And they can start crying right quick in the next sentence. So, go Cavs.
Yeah, I think I definitely want the Cavs to win. Just because I don't want to hear Knicks fans. But I mean, if you're a Detroiter, this is pretty rough. Like, it's either Cleveland goes to the finals or the Knicks. We already talked about the flopping and the foul betting. We'll get into that in a second, and we'll come back to it after our break. But this is rough. If you're a Detroit Pistons fans having to sit through these two teams in the East. But I am anticipating some good basketball. I'm definitely really locked into this series out west. I think there's going to be some incredible basketball. But as we've been alluding to all segment, and we'll have to continue this discussion, but the question of the hour is: Are we seeing the era of flopping ruin the NBA? Have we reached the point where, we've certainly reached the point where we need to have that discussion. Is it valid, Jimmy?
It's getting to that point because some of them are so ridiculous. But these guys are calculated. They know where the refs are, and they know the best angle to get the flop. But, we'll discuss that on the other side of the hour as well for a little bit.
Yes, sir. Jimmy and Jack here talking Detroit sports. We will return here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. Jack Barthwell, Jimmy Wardell. We will be right back.
Comics. Is it your time to shine? Well, get polished at the 11th Annual Comics Rock Convention in Los Angeles, California, presented by comedy's greatest auntie, Hope Flood.
God put on my heart to help comedians to win and not spin their wheels for the next 10, 20 years.
Register today for incredible seminars, roundtable discussions, and your chance to network with comedy's movers and shakers. Change your life July 19th at the Comics Rock Convention. Visit comicsrockconvention.com to register and change your life for the better. It's time to shine.
What up, though? Welcome back. Jack Barthwell and Jimmy Wardell here with you on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, Sports Rap Network. You can catch us, as always, on the Sports Rap app, available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. SportsRapNetwork.com, our online home, as well as on YouTube, Sports Rap Network. You can find us there live Mondays and Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. You cannot see our bright, beautiful faces this time, but I promise you will be able to in the future. Jimmy, we were talking the state of the NBA. We had been hinting at it all segment, but really want to be able to dive into it a little bit more now. This epidemic of flopping that has taken over the game the past few years. A lot of folks will say it started with the rise of James Harden. Harden has done more to the NBA rulebook, or to stretch the bounds of the NBA rulebook, than I think anyone in the history of the game. His gather step that has led to the proliferation of traveling, for lack of a better word. His step back three, which has led to a revolution in the game, but also studies are beginning to show might be leading to the rise in calf and Achilles injuries that players are experiencing. And I think the most egregious attempt to skirt the rules has been his foul baiting, or attempt to draw attempt to draw fouls while he's an offensive player. Typically, you'll see either, which I think is the worst and most egregious, is when he will snap his head back on the first sign of, or even perceived sign of contact, which is egregious and awful. But I think the one that's more insidious is when, and we alluded to it in the last segment, but when he takes a jump shot, usually a three-pointer, and then kicks both legs forward to change where his landing zone is. It even fooled ESPN's Tim Legler, who was, during one of these reviews, or non-reviews, because, JB didn't even challenge a lot of them, but in a lot of the replays, James Harden, jumped and landed, a foot forward from where he took off from. And Legler said, oh, well, that's just his natural shooting motion. No, because he fell down. Like, dudes don't fall down every time they take a jumper, unless you are Joel Embiid, who also flops. So I think, that's perfect for this discussion. But those moves in particular have now pervaded the game and are seeping down into the lower levels of the game. Jimmy, do you think we have reached a point where we need to start sounding alarm bells?
Yeah, because they're making flopping okay. looking at the teams that have made the Final Four. You're basically legalizing. Now you're allowing in the playoffs a physical, which I like. You know, you're being able to hold on screens and all that. But then you touch somebody and it's a foul.
Right.
You've got to balance it out.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't help when you see some of these like ticky-tack fouls that, of course we were more locked into the Pistons series than all the others, but, those ones where they're coming up the court and Asar touches Evan Mobley, removes Evan Mobley's arm from him as Mobley's, pushing him down the court and is called for a defensive foul. Asar was called for the defensive foul when Cade was guarding Harden, 40, 50 feet away from the basket. And Harden, threw his head back, and Cade hadn't even touched him, and it was a foul. It happened a couple times. I think exactly what you said is right. They are rewarding this style of play. Go ahead.
And don't forget the non-call in Game 5 at the end on the Sir, and Jared Allen tripped him.
Exactly.
Accidental trip nonetheless.
Sure.
But still a foul.
And I think that is part of what leads to the increased frustration for fans, right? It's so inconsistent. We have no consistency on who gets this whistle. I mean, we obviously have seen that Shea and James and Brunson and Mitchell, Cat to some extent, Embiid is a generational flopper and gets the whistle for it. Jokic is not as egregious, but it's starting to get bad. Luka, obviously, and Luka wishes he got every call, even the ones he doesn't deserve. I think what you've seen is it's being incentivized by the league. We look at definitely 3. Many will probably say all 4. Teams benefit from their superstars getting these calls that are embellished. Embellished at best, exaggerated.
Wemby gets him too.
Yes, Wemby for sure gets a superstar whistle for someone who has only been in the league, 3 seasons. He gets a better whistle than Cade. I'll say that.
But if you look at that list of players that you just named, that's the top 4 in the MVP race.
Yeah, exactly. The only one on the MVP
Jokic,
list in the top 5.
Wemby, and Luka.
It's the only one in the top 5 that isn't known.
Maybe he needs to flop so he can win a title.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're being told by the NBA is that you need to flop to win today's NBA. And I think that is an awful message to send to your fans and your league, but also to the players coming up, because that's just going to make college basketball and high school basketball, AAU basketball is already a farce. I can't imagine it with kids practicing foul baiting, 6 times a day in a gym in Las Vegas, 2 days out of every weekend. I don't like where it's headed, but I also don't necessarily know if there's anything we can do to stop it. As we've mentioned on the show before, like with this proliferation of international players, that's the kind of game that they play, right? They are playing, more of an outside, less physical oriented game, and when they are met with contact, they embellish. And I think that's also borne out by the MVP list. That international flair to set list.
I guarantee if you start giving them texts, they would change quickly.
Yeah, and that's what makes it the most frustrating is we have the mechanism to fix it, and it's an easy fix that everybody wants, or everybody not playing the game or coaching it or reffing it or whatever. Stop letting this stuff happen, and it will immediately correct itself, and we can go back to having something that resembles entertaining basketball. I think we've gotten spoiled. We do have so many great teams and players, and we've had great games in the association. But it gets marred by some of the just awful matchups we have to endure when, some certain guys are left to their own devices. I think we do have an officiating crisis in the league. And I think that could easily be rectified as well. Just have them have to answer questions after games like the players and the coaches have to. I think the last 2-minute report is nice and cute, but when you've screwed me over the first 46 minutes, I don't care how much you've screwed me over in the last 2, right? I just think the game is in a really precarious spot right now. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for it, but, with the aging out of our superstars and the mantle of, face of the NBA not really wanting to be claimed by any of these guys, I think the league is in a dangerous spot. I think we're kind of in the spot where baseball was before some of the structural changes, where the most famous guys are famous, and the big teams continue to draw both on TV and in the stands, but the rest of y'all, it's getting a little hard to justify watching Memphis, Phoenix in January, right? So I think they need to figure out how they're going to continue to market and grow and build the game, both here and abroad. And I don't mean, going to play in Saudi Arabia or Morocco or whatever, right? I mean, how are we going to change the product on the court to be a better standard we want to live up to? Sorry, I've been rambling.
Well, with this new TV contract, I know you don't want the stars to foul out, but on the flip, you don't want to play a good game and lose because somebody's flopping.
Yep.
But I tell you what I do like. I do like them letting them play in the playoff.
Yes.
And it was nice to see, because that was both ways.
Yes.
That was both ways. I mean, they were dancing most of the time on the picks. Mm-hmm. You might as well have one arm out here and then your arm around the person.
It's disgusting. And
just did a do-si-do or whatever. But I mean,
they don't call movies.
It was, but it was. I like the old school type of basketball, but at the flop, so you got to make it one or the other.
And I think we deserve real playoff basketball, right? I think that's one thing that the generation before me, the era before, I fell in love with basketball, got right, is the playoffs should not be pretty, right? These are two teams of professionals that are at the top of their game, the top of their craft, have fought for 80 plus games. This is everything that they're being paid for and worked hard for. It should be, it should feel momentous. It should feel like a heavyweight fight. And I think we are going, we have lost some of that in this new era. And I think, unfortunately, leaving it up to the likes of Scott Foster and Tony Brothers and Zach Zarba, like, I do not, John Goebbels, I don't think we're in a good spot refereeing-wise to rein this in. But I do think some of that previous DNA will seep through in this playoffs. We will see some more gritty play in the conference finals and the NBA finals. We have to pray so, right?
Refs announced yesterday. I didn't know any of them.
Yeah, which is good. That's how it should be. You shouldn't know the officials' names. But we will talk about this a little bit more, but we'll talk Tigers, we'll talk Lions. We've got a lot to get into still here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. Jack Barthel, Jimmy Wardell here talking Detroit and abroad. But here, Jimmy and Jack will be right back.
We all we got, and we need you to get right. Detroit, it's time to level up your health. Join the African American Male Wellness Agency for Black Men's Wellness Day, Saturday, July 18th from 7 a.m. to noon at Renaissance High School. Get free health screenings, hit the pavement for the 5K walk and run, bring the whole family out for entertainment, kids zone, and more. This isn't just an event, it's a movement, because real strength means taking care of your body and your future.
We all we got.
What up, Doe? Welcome back. Jack Bartholomew, Jimmy Wardell, here with you again to talk Detroit sports. Here on the Sports Rap Network, 107.5 HD2 WGPR. You can find us on the Sports Rap app, available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. You can find us on sportsrapnetwork.com, and you can find us on YouTube, Sports Rap Network channel. Jack Bartholomew, Jimmy Wardell. We wanted to take this segment and check in on the rest of our local teams. Obviously, the Red Wings are in the thick of the offseason, the beginning of the offseason for them. Hopefully, the Iser plan version, what's it, 5.0 now? 6.0 maybe? Turns out to be better than previous versions, but we will check up on them a bit later. Would like to focus on the Tigers for just a bit. Tigers, after a kind of promising start, have started to tail off a bit here as the weather has remained wet and wild. Tigers currently sit 20-27, tied for last place in the Central. 2-8 in their last 10, although Framber Valdez is looking pretty good today. Hopefully he can keep, stop this 2-game losing streak. Tigers did take the first game from the Blue Jays in the previous series, but then lost the last two. They only scored 4 runs in that series against the Blue Jays. They scored 8 runs in the series against the Mets. Not a ton of offense right now. The Tigers also are suffering from an incredible run of injuries. 15 players on the injured list. Skubal, Baez, Torres, Carpenter. When do we expect any of those guys back? And one, I'll have to say, you have to give credit to the team that's out there right now for holding down the fort to the extent that they have with all these injuries. But having said that, you got to play with who you got. Jimmy, what do you think about the Tigers at about the quarter way point, a little past the quarter way point?
Well, they got Casey Mize back this weekend. That's huge. That's another pitcher that you can count on. It's good they play in American League Central because back. Mm-hmm. The Indians are in first place.
Guardians.
Crazy as it seems, they could series. Yeah.
Hey, are you trying to get in trouble?
Something. Yeah, you're right. So somebody today was talking about Detroit sports and how they're so poor and this and that. I said the last time Cleveland won, they were the Indians instead of the Guardians.
Right.
But I'm not worried like Minnesota and the White Sox, but I think they're tied with Kansas City. Kansas City, Cleveland, and Detroit will vie for the Central Crown.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be.
And I think, if you can hold water, even years they get a bad start and finish strong. Odd years, they start strong and finish bad. It repeats itself.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits the Tigers do have this year is the Central is shaping up to be, we'll say, a competitive, if not overachieving division this year. I think we will see a compressed division the entire summer. I do think that is going to skew the amount of buyers and sellers at the deadline this year. I think you're going to see an increase team standing pat because the whole Central will be probably still up for grabs, and so thus they won't necessarily want to be sellers. But because of the makeup of the teams and how the talent is distributed, they may not have enough pieces to make moves either, to be buyers. So it's going to be a really interesting time in the Central, and I think the Tigers are going to benefit from that. They just need to hold down the fort until the big guns can come back. I do want to touch on, and we have it on the show notes, so I can't forget it, but we need to discuss Kevin McGonigal. The batting average is finally under 300, but he's still hitting 290, he's still getting on base at 394 clip. He's slugging 420. Bat wise, he's the best. He's got the best WAR, wins above replacement on the team. He's got more walks than strikeouts as a rookie. He's got 7 stolen bases. He's got 2 triples and 2 home runs. What can't, he's playing great defense at short. What can't he do? Is he the chosen one that we have been promised going back since I don't know, Damian Easley?
It's I don't want to be like trending to be a player that's going to be here for a while and a good player. Now, I remember again, Joe Charbonneau run Rookie of the Year. 2 years later, he was out the league. But I think McGonigal looks like he's going to be one to make adjustments and do well.
Yeah, I think he's shown that. We've already played 40-plus ball games. So teams have gotten a lot of film and have gotten a chance to make adjustments to him. And I think he is in the period of, pitchers have adjusted to him. So now he's adjusting to the adjustments. And that is a constant battle throughout one's career. But he seems to be handling it well. He seems to be handling the pressure of being, the everyday shortstop for a major league team well. I think the sky is the limit for him. I think he's probably one of those, or the Tigers would probably love him to be a candidate for one of these early extension guys who are starting to sign. When they signed for 8-9 years and under $200 million.
Oh, he already got one.
Oh, he did already get one, didn't he?
He got one.
Okay.
Yeah, before the first game.
That's right. And I believe I was probably upset with him when he took it. But he's already proving it to be a good deal, possibly a bargain, right? It's very early, but he's, I think he's the real deal, at least so far. And I think that leads to another question about Tigers. Do you promote Max Clark yet? What do you think?
No. I'm going to give him the whole year down there. Because he started out real strong, and now he's in a little bit of a slump. I think he might be hitting 231. So I'm going to give him some more time.
I think the Tigers just need to hold on. I think I remember saying this the last time we were on air, and the time before that. I think I said it throughout the season that this was going to have to be a holding pattern type year or tread water type year. We've seen the last 2 years they've had wild swings, but that basically brought them to 500 or a little over 500. They had the incredible finish 2 seasons ago, and they had the incredible start to last season. I think this may just be a 500 type baseball club, and they'll need to, maximize everything they can around the margins and manufacture runs and do all that kind of stuff. But I think that being in the Central, that they're always going to have a shot this year, so they'll just have to reach out and take it. But we would be remiss if we did not discuss the last Titan of Detroit sports. That would be our Detroit Lions. The schedule was released. The benefits of finishing last in the division immediately were made evident as the Lions were awarded the 27th hardest schedule based on the records from last year. The Lions' schedule does include 3 games in 12 days, including one in Berlin, which does not make those games, which is not taken into account with the schedule toughness ranking. And the Lions will also play 3 division rivalry games on the road in the last 4 games. Jimmy, what do you think about this schedule? How many wins do you see?
Well, I counted 11 or 12, but I do think that it's grossly unfair. Mm-hmm. When you have a game overseas, well, if 2 California teams play in Mexico, maybe not. But when you have 2 teams traveling thousands of miles, you need to give them that week off.
Yes.
And they're not gimme games. None of them are gimme games, and that's it. They got the Patriots, which I know Mike Vrabel is going to be glad to get out of town. They've got Tampa, which is always a close game that they play. And then they've got the Bears for Thanksgiving. So none of those are gimmies, and you got them boom, boom, boom. And they had to ask not to be involved in the Thursday night game after Thanksgiving because they had done that 2 years in a row, I believe.
Right. Yeah, I think that I think the worst thing that they've done is add these international games, and I think the related worst thing they've done to that is not adding either another bye week or mandating that the bye week comes after the international game. And also, I think the bye weeks are starting a little too early. The Chiefs have a bye week in week 5, which I think is a war crime. 4 games in is certainly, I obviously didn't play NFL football. I played contact, tackle football before. It hurts. Having a break that early in the season is nice, but, it would be a lot more beneficial week 7, week 8, week 9. I just think we're not, for all the talk about player safety and blah, 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 I think the NFL is talking out of both sides of their neck when it comes to that, because that's not, you think about the air miles you're putting on these guys. The West Coast teams always have to travel further. I think Seattle's got to travel like almost 40,000 miles in the air this year. Carolina's only got to travel like 8,000. Like we're not doing right by these players.
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Now I know they're starting on Wednesday, so they've got somewhat of a bye.
Right.
But that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. But we will wrap up our discussion for this Monday when we return from break here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR. Jimmy and Jack, we will be right back.
Clock hit midnight, ledger cleared. Zeros in the account till the light appeared. They looking for a check on the first and the third. Breath in the lungs is the realest currency. Earning a whole nother 24 emergency. Every day is payday, the dividend is life. Deposit that focus, cut through the noise like a knife. You earn the sun on your face and the concrete under the feet. Appreciate the value before you hit the street. Don't let the hours go bankrupt. Stay liquid, keep your head right, keep it cool. You earn the sun on your face and the concrete under hit the street. Go bankrupt. Keep your head right. Sports Rap Network. WGPR 107.5 HD2.
What up, though? Welcome back to the final segment. Jimmy and Jack here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. As usual, you can find us on the Sports Rap app, available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. You can find us on sportsrapnetwork.com, and you can find us on YouTube. Same name, Sports Rap Network. Jack Bartholomew, Jimmy Wardell here with you to close out this Monday evening. connecting a little bit to what we were discussing. Obviously, it is the end of the day. We will give our opinions on some of the other things we couldn't touch on earlier. But did want to point out quickly, De'Aaron Fox has been ruled out of Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Spurs Thunder. That late breaking news just came across a few minutes ago. But also, we were talking NFL and schedule releases. Other things were released. The NFL awarded the Super Bowl to Nashville in 2030, and the draft will be held in Minneapolis in 2028. Does that now close out the division? Has Chicago hosted a draft as well, or are they the last remaining NFC North team to hold a draft?
I don't know. I don't think Chicago has.
They seem to be tossing the draft to cold weather teams as a boon, since they will not award them Super Bowls. However, Nashville securing a Super Bowl may throw some of that thinking into question. I have never been to Nashville, so Jimmy, as our expert, you will of course be able to explain this decision better, but I have
resident Nashvilleian.
That's right. I have read that Miami may no longer be in the running for Super Bowls because of some of the changes they've made to the surrounding area.
Why not?
Because of the changes they made to the surrounding area because of the F1 race, they have lost parking space and hotel space, and they no longer meet all of the criteria that the league uses to award Super Bowls. So it looks like Nashville is going to take at least one of those Super Bowls that Miami would get. What do you think about a Super Bowl in Nashville?
Well, Nashville is a booming, growing town. And, I'm all for it. I think that they'll have a good time. Everybody had a good time at the draft. Now, that was the emphasis that they built this new stadium opening in 2027. That's indoors. It's being built in the parking lot. And, I think that'll be a good Super Bowl. But, Nashville is, it's still cool in February, but it's not cold. So I think they'll be all right.
Sure.
Now, I remember Minneapolis had a Super Bowl there, but, I don't know if they will get to the numbers at Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I just can't see it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm happy they're holding a draft.
Yeah. I know LeBron is excited about the Super Bowl being in Nashville. So, maybe he'll make an appearance. But I do think it's interesting. We will see a few different locations over the upcoming years. With these new stadiums being built with roofs, I could see Buffalo, trying to throw their name in the ring. Although that should never happen. But stranger things have happened.
Theirs is still open, isn't it? Buffalo's is still open, isn't it?
I believe so.
The stadium.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, we'll find out the first game. The Lions open the stadium.
That's right.
The second week.
That's right. Another related, possibly NFL story, definitely college football story. We mentioned the last time we were on air, Texas Tech quarterback potential Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby was caught gambling on college football games, including games that he was technically participating in. He was betting on Indiana football games before Coach Cignetti got there. So his new defense of being a gambling addict might actually have some legs, because you have to be a true sicko to have been betting on Indiana football before Cignetti got there. also came out today. His defense is going to include it made me feel closer to my teammates in games that I didn't think I was going to participate in angle, which I think is absolutely insane. But I bring it up to say that today Sorsby and his representation sued the NCAA to expedite their determination on whether or not he will be eligible to play college football this season. This seems like a fairly open and shut case. I mean, you're not allowed to gamble on the team you play for in any other sport, but all those other sports have collective bargaining agreements, and there is no such agreement between the players, the schools, the institutions, etc. in college football. And so there is probably some sort of loophole that he can get through legally to say that the NCAA does not have the power to suspend him for gambling on his own team or any other sport. There have been other players that were suspended by the NCAA for gambling, and they did not challenge their suspensions. Those players did not have $5 million riding on whether or not they would be eligible to play this season. So that is the obvious reason why Brendan Sorsby is fighting back. This will obviously set the most awful precedent in the history of college football if he is granted eligibility either by the NCAA or by the courts. So, having said that, that's obviously what is about to happen. So, what do you think the ramifications are on this decision will have?
Well, he's also saying that he has a clinically proven gambling addiction. So, that's going to open up Pandora's box for anything a psychiatrist can prove you have clinically proven. But I don't think they can let him slide on this, for lack of a better word. I think you've got to get on top of this gambling. Because if you let him go, everybody will be saying, well, same thing.
Yep.
So,
and
I think they should rule against him.
Yeah, and you mentioned off air before we came back, the slippery slope for other deviant behaviors, right? If someone is accused of sexual assault or something of that nature, they can claim, I'm a sex addict, I'm a porn addict. I think that, if someone's, suspended for underage drinking or DUI or whatever, I'm an alcohol addict, you can't suspend me for that. I think we are entering the most perilous of territory for the NCAA. I think that, allowing NIL and whatever, that was certainly led to upheaval and has led to a Wild West sentiment. But you want to talk about the real Wild West. If dudes are allowed to gamble alone on their own team, I think we are in for a danger not known to this sport since Teddy Roosevelt was getting ready to ban it. I think we are in danger of that type of danger to the game and to the players that play the game, especially with all the money that they're, that we know that they're getting or think that they're getting. And then we know that they're allowed to gamble. You think kids are getting death threats and, all kinds of nonsense thrown their way now. Let it be known that they're allowed to gamble. We are in the most dangerous territory. So I, for once, hope the NCAA are able to win a lawsuit, but I have zero faith in it happening. But moving on to the continued greed of the NCAA, and probably what could be a very good argument for Brendan Sorsby, if these money-grubbing fools are allowed to ruin college sports for money by expanding the playoff and tournament, why can't make money for gambling on my team to win, But if you are unaware, the NCAA has officially voted to expand the NCAA basketball tournament, Division I basketball tournament, to 76 teams. It's really adding a bunch of play-in games, so it's not like the worst thing in the world, but I do not think we need more barely 500 Power 5 teams to play a couple days before the real tournament starts. I don't think it adds any legitimacy to what we're doing.
Let's just be real. Auburn was the last team out.
Right.
They had a 5-12 record in the SEC. They don't deserve to be in the tournament.
Exactly. And we're doing all of this for Stephen Pearl.
I could see if they were going to take a lot of these mid-majors, but then it's going to take lousy teams from the Power 4 conferences.
Yes. Yeah. It's a money grab of the most naked ambition. We have a World Cup coming to America this summer. Between FIFA and the NCAA, I don't. Well, and of course our current administration, I have no idea how we are not fully collapsing under the weight of literal corruption and greed. Although I guess there is an argument that we are. And of course the other piece of upheaval before we get out of here, the coaches have agreed that they think a 24-team playoff is best. The college football playoff is best. The athletic directors have not figured out how they're going to pull that off yet, nor has ESPN truly signed off on it yet. But we are in for some of the most blatant greed this sport has ever seen, and I think we are worse off for it. Jimmy, in the minute we have left, do you want to lament the death of college football?
Yep. Well, football used to be unique where you played 12 games, 13 if you had a bowl. Now you're playing as much as the pros. Indiana played 16 games last year. If you add this 24th game, they're talking about doing away with conference championships. But still, that's a lot of football to be put on these young bodies.
Truly an abomination. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this Monday evening. But luckily for you and us, we have another day to talk Detroit sports here on 107.5 HD2 WGPR, the Sports Rap Network. Jimmy and Jack signing off for this week.